The phones started ringing before sunrise. Across the country, retirees, disabled Americans, and low-income families began hearing the same thing over and over again. Something changed with Social Security. And now, in June 2026, millions of people are trying to figure out what these new SSA updates actually mean for their monthly checks, their eligibility, and their future. Some people are already seeing payment adjustments. Others are getting notices they didn't expect. And many Americans are confused because the headlines online are either exaggerated, misleading, or missing the full story completely. But today we're breaking down the real changes that are now affecting SSI, SSDI, and Social Security recipients across the United States. And some of these updates could directly impact your money within weeks. One of the biggest concerns right now involves updated payment processing rules and new verification systems being rolled out by the Social Security Administration. These systems are designed to reduce fraud and overpayments, but many recipients are worried they could accidentally trigger delays, account reviews, or interruptions if personal information is outdated or income records don't match federal databases. That's especially important for SSI recipients, where even small reporting errors can affect benefits quickly. At the same time, a second major update is creating confusion for SSDI beneficiaries. There are changes tied to disability reviews, work activity reporting, and income monitoring thresholds that could affect how certain cases are evaluated moving forward. For some Americans trying to return to work part-time while keeping disability benefits, these new rules may create both opportunities and risks, and understanding the details could prevent costly mistakes. And then there's the third update that has retirees paying very close attention. New discussions surrounding Social Security funding, payment timing adjustments, and benefit administration changes are already starting to impact how future monthly payments may be handled. While some Americans could see positive adjustments tied to inflation protections and updated COLA calculations, others may face longer processing times for claims, appeals, or account corrections due to staffing shortages and increased SSA system modernization efforts. Here's the truth. These changes are real. They are already happening, and millions of Americans are affected whether they realize it or not. So in today's video, we're going step by step through all three major SSA updates for June 2026, who is impacted the most, what actions you may need to take immediately, and how to protect your benefits before small problems turn into major financial headaches. Stay with us because some of the most important details are the ones almost nobody is explaining clearly. And the reason this matters so much right now is because for millions of Americans, Social Security is not just another government program. It is the difference between stability and stress. It is the rent payment. It is the grocery money. It is prescription medication. It is the electric bill during a heat wave. And when changes happen inside the SSA system, even small ones can create massive confusion, especially for older Americans who are already dealing with rising prices, healthcare costs, and uncertainty about the economy. Over the last several weeks, more people have started noticing unusual delays when calling local Social Security offices. Others have reported longer wait times for benefit reviews, direct deposit updates, and disability paperwork processing. And according to multiple reports, part of the reason is because the SSA has been pushing major internal modernization efforts that are changing how records are reviewed and verified. Now, on paper, modernization sounds good. The government says these systems are supposed to make payments more secure, reduce fraud, and improve efficiency. But what many Americans are discovering is that when a massive federal system changes how it handles information, mistakes and delays can happen during the transition period. That is exactly why beneficiaries are being told to carefully review their personal information right now. Something as simple as an outdated mailing address, an old bank account number, incorrect earnings history, or missing identity verification could suddenly create issues that may delay future payments or trigger account reviews. For SSI recipients especially, reporting accuracy has become even more important because the SSA is increasing automated checks involving income, resources, and living arrangements. And this is where many people accidentally get into trouble without realizing it. Imagine someone receiving SSI who occasionally gets help from family members with groceries or utility bills. In the past, many recipients may not have fully understood how certain support or living arrangements could affect their benefits. But now, newer verification systems are cross-checking financial records and reported income more aggressively than before. That doesn't mean everyone is suddenly losing benefits, but it does mean the SSA is paying closer attention to discrepancies that might have slipped through years ago. For many Americans watching this video, the biggest takeaway is simple. If there have been changes in your income, household situation, or banking information, now is the time to make sure everything on file is accurate. At the same time, disability beneficiaries are facing another layer of uncertainty. SSDI recipients across the country are hearing more conversations about continuing disability reviews and work activity monitoring. Now, this is extremely important because there is a lot of misinformation online right now, making people believe the SSA is trying to remove everyone from disability benefits. That is not true. But what is true is that the administration is increasing oversight in certain cases to determine whether recipients still meet eligibility requirements or whether income levels have changed significantly. For Americans trying to return to work in some capacity while still managing health conditions, this can become very stressful. Many SSDI recipients want to supplement their income because inflation has made daily life harder. Groceries cost more. Insurance costs more. Housing costs more. And some people are testing part-time employment or small self-employment opportunities just to survive financially. But many beneficiaries are afraid that earning too much money or reporting income incorrectly could suddenly put their benefits at risk. That fear is not completely unfounded because the SSA does monitor substantial gainful activity thresholds very carefully. And if beneficiaries fail to report work activity properly, overpayments can happen. Once overpayments occur, recipients can suddenly receive letters demanding thousands of dollars back. Imagine opening your mailbox and seeing a notice saying you owe the government money because of an issue that may have happened months or even years ago. That is exactly the kind of situation many Americans are trying desperately to avoid right now. What makes this even more complicated is that many seniors and disabled Americans feel overwhelmed by the system itself. Calling the SSA can take hours. Visiting field offices often requires appointments and transportation. Online systems can confuse older adults who are not comfortable with technology. And unfortunately, scammers know this. In fact, another major concern connected to these June 2026 SSA changes is the sharp increase in Social Security scams targeting seniors. Criminals are using fear to manipulate older Americans. Some scammers pretend to be SSA employees and claim your Social Security number has been suspended. Others say your benefits are about to stop unless you verify your information immediately. Some even spoof official government phone numbers to sound legitimate. And with all these real SSA updates happening at the same time, many seniors are finding it harder to tell the difference between legitimate notices and fraudulent schemes. That is why experts continue repeating the same warning. The Social Security Administration will never threaten immediate arrest over the phone, demand gift card payments, or pressure you into making urgent financial decisions during a call. Unfortunately, panic causes many people to react emotionally, especially when they are worried about losing income they depend on every single month. Meanwhile, retirees are also watching another issue unfold very closely: the long-term future of Social Security funding itself. Every year, Americans hear debates from Washington about trust funds, solvency concerns, and possible future reforms. But in 2026, those conversations are becoming louder because more baby boomers are retiring, while the workforce supporting the system continues shifting. Now, to be clear, Social Security is not disappearing tomorrow. Millions of Americans will continue receiving benefits, but policymakers are openly discussing potential future adjustments involving taxation, retirement age considerations, and funding strategies to strengthen the program long term. And this is where emotions become very personal for many older Americans. People spent decades working, paying payroll taxes, and planning retirement around the expectation that Social Security would provide stability later in life. So whenever headlines mention changes, many seniors immediately worry that their benefits are about to be reduced. That fear spreads rapidly online, especially on social media, where misleading videos and exaggerated claims gain attention very quickly. But one thing many experts are emphasizing right now is that Americans should focus on verified information instead of panic-driven rumors. Some viral posts claim massive benefit cuts are happening immediately. Others falsely say all seniors must reapply for benefits or lose payments. Those claims are simply not accurate. What is happening is more administrative, procedural, and financial in nature. The SSA is updating systems, reviewing eligibility requirements more carefully, adjusting operational procedures, and dealing with the financial realities of managing one of the largest government programs in the country. Another issue quietly affecting many beneficiaries right now is payment timing confusion. Some Americans notice calendar changes for June payments and assume their benefits were delayed. But in many cases, payment schedules shift slightly, depending on weekends, holidays, or birth dates tied to the SSA distribution system. Unfortunately, when people are already anxious about changes, even a one-day delay can create panic. That is especially true for households living check to check, where timing matters tremendously. Healthcare costs are also adding pressure. Many seniors receiving Social Security are simultaneously dealing with rising Medicare premiums, prescription drug expenses, and insurance deductibles. So even when monthly Social Security payments increase slightly because of cost of living adjustments, many retirees feel like they are still falling behind financially. In reality, some beneficiaries say their increased payments disappear almost immediately because other living expenses continue rising faster than expected. And perhaps the most frustrating part for many Americans is feeling like nobody explains these changes clearly in plain English. Government notices are often filled with technical language. News headlines focus on politics instead of practical impact. And online misinformation spreads faster than facts. That leaves millions of people trying to figure out what these SSA updates actually mean for their real lives. So here is the practical reality as we move deeper into June 2026. If you receive SSI, SSDI, or Social Security retirement benefits, this is the moment to stay proactive instead of reactive. Review your account information carefully. Monitor official notices closely. Report income or household changes accurately. Be cautious about scams. And most importantly, do not make financial decisions based purely on fear-driven headlines online. Because at the end of the day, the majority of beneficiaries will continue receiving their payments. But the Americans who stay informed, organized, and alert are the ones most likely to avoid unnecessary problems during these SSA transitions. The system is changing. Oversight is increasing. Technology is evolving. And while those shifts are creating anxiety for millions of people, understanding what is really happening can make a huge difference. Now, in just a moment, we're going to talk about the specific groups of Americans who could be affected the most by these June 2026 SSA updates, including retirees living on fixed incomes, disabled workers trying to return to employment, and low-income SSI households facing increased verification checks. Because for some people, these changes may be minor inconveniences, but for others, they could directly impact financial survival in the months ahead.